Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Walaikum salam.
My topic is Universal Message of Quran. The literal meaning of Quran is that which is to be read. It is the holy book for Muslims and is the final revelation. The Quran is the words of God. The Quran was verbally revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through angel Gabriel, gradually over a period of 23 years, approximately. Quran has encouraged people to think about God and his creation, and to take lessons from history, and to make the present most favorable for mankind. The Quran opens with a verse: all praise belongs to God, Lord of all the worlds. Chapter 1, verse 2. This presents the reader with a unified concept of humanity and of the universe. It embraces the whole of mankind and the entire universe. Another verse that proclaims a universal brotherhood of man and hold fast all together by the rope of God and be not divided. And remember the favor of God which he bestowed upon you when you were enemies, and he united your hearts in love, so that by his grace you become as brothers. And you were on the brink of a pit of fire, and he saved you from it. Does God explain to you his commandments that mankind may be rightly guided? Chapter 3, verse 104. Another verse which says in chapter 30, verse 23, and among his signs are the creations of the heavens and earth, and the diversity of your tongues and colors. In that surely are signs for those who possess knowledge. The only true honor is the purity and righteousness of a person's life. O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female, and we have made you into tribes and subtribes, that you may recognize one another. Verily, the most honorable among you in the sight of God is he who is most righteous among you. Surely God is all knowing, all aware. Quran chapter 49, verse 14. So, in this verse, we see that every distinction or privilege, whether pertaining to color, race, or caste, or derived from family, rank, or wealth, is abolished. Islam makes all mankind one great brotherhood and exhorts all of us to seek and win the pleasure of God through the righteousness and beneficence of our conduct towards each other. A study of the Quran shows that its aim is to produce a universal approach in human beings. Universality means high thinking and an unbiased and unconditional approach. We find an example of this quality in the Quran. It addresses us thus, O man and O mankind. This shows that the approach of the Quran is based on universality. The very first chapter of the Quran begins with these words: Pray be to God, the Lord and sustainer of all mankind. Similarly, we see that the Quran introduces God as the Lord of the worlds, and not just the Lord of the Muslims or the Lord of the Arabs. He is also called the Lord of the East and the West, chapter 70, verse 40. Similarly, the Quran cites the Prophet of Islam as a messenger sent for all mankind and not just for the Arabs. The Quran says, we have sent you forth as a mercy to all mankind. Chapter 21, verse 107. This universality of Quranic revelation brings about a universal approach in its believers. In another place, the Quran says, "Blessed be he who has revealed the criterion, the Quran, to his servant, and he may warn all mankind." Chapter 25, verse 1. This universal approach can be seen in all the teachings of Islam. For instance, at the end of the Salat, which a Muslim performs 5 times a day, the faithful turns their head towards the right and left and utter these words of greeting, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, which means, may peace and blessings of God be upon you. This is meant for all mankind, inhabiting the lands towards the east and the west, the north and the south. This is, in fact, a universal greeting. In this way, one of the aims of the Salat, that is the prayers, is to instill in believers feelings of well-wishing for the whole mankind, for the whole world. The whole world should share in one's prayers. This is the lesson in universal thinking, which is daily given to the believers. Similarly, we see Hajj, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, takes the form of a universal gathering. Muslims belonging to all the nations of the world meet one another on this occasion. It is in fact an annual attempt to produce universality in believers. Conveying this universal divine message to all the nations of the world, that is Dawah, is another important teaching of the Quran and the Prophet. As a requirement of Islam, this turns every believer into a universal ambassador for Dawah activity. Coming out of the limited sphere of oneself, one is made to think at the level of all humanity. As a result, an activity like that of Dawah produces universal thinking among the faithful. The responsibility of Dawah takes the believer out of the local sphere and turns him into a global personality. The truth is that universality is an inseparable part of Quranic thinking. One who adopts the Quranic way will start thinking at the universal level. His personality will be linked with the entire human brotherhood. In spite of being located in a particular region, he becomes a citizen of the universe as far as his thinking is concerned. In this respect, it can be rightly said that Islam or the Quran promotes universal citizenship. Read in the name of your Lord who created man from clots of congealed blood. Read, your Lord is the most bountiful one, who by the pen taught man what he did not know. Indeed, man transgresses in thinking himself self-sufficient. For to your Lord all things return. Quran chapter 96, verse from 1 to 8. These verses of the Quran were the first to be revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. That tells us what God's purpose was in choosing this particular way of sending his revelation through his messengers, namely to inform man of what would otherwise have been impossible for him to learn on his own. For example, man leads his life in the present world for a fixed period of time and then passes away. During this lifespan, he appears to be free. This gives rise to 2 kinds of misunderstandings. One is that man's life is nothing but what it appears to be from birth to death, and the other is that man is not going to be taken for task for his actions. It was to put an end to this ignorance that God arranged for a series of prophets to bring his revelations to mankind. We see in every age and in every nation, messengers of God have continued to come, the Prophet Muhammad being the last of the prophets in this chain. Now he is the only source of divine guidance, since no other prophets is going to come till doomsday. The message passed on by these prophets was that in this present world, man is not free to follow his desires. In all moral issues, he is bound to obey the divine commandments given to man by God through his messengers. However, the presence of the prophet in person is not necessary for man's guidance. What is necessary is access to the book of God, which was brought by him to mankind. With God's book, the Quran, available in its preserved state in every corner of the globe, and also the Sunnah, that is the traditions of the Prophet, enshrined in authentic collections, man has now no excuse for his wrongdoing. For it must be remembered that God has not left man alone after sending his guidance. He is actually keeping a continuous watch over him, and after death, he will be brought to the divine court, where, according to the worldly record, his guilt or innocence will be pronounced by God, and reward or punishment meted out accordingly. Man should therefore, in building his life, seek continual guidance from Quran and Sunnah, so that he may become truly deserving of God's eternal blessings. The message of the Quran, which is universal, is to make man aware of the creation plan of God. Every man and woman ask the same question: who am I? Why am I here on this planet Earth? What is the purpose of my life? What is success and what is failure? These questions may be summed up in a single sentence. What is the creation plan of the Creator? Chapter 67 of the Quran, Al-Mulk, the kingdom, gives the answer to this question. God created death and life so that he might test you and find out which of you is best in conduct. He is the mighty, the most forgiving one. Quran chapter 67, verse 2. According to the Quran, man was created as an eternal being. Death and life represent both the pre-death period of life and post-death period of human life. Man is given complete freedom, not as a gift, but as a test. The result of this test would enable God to know who misused his freedom and who put his freedom to the best use. This test is not just for the sake of testing mankind. It is for a much higher purpose. Before creating man, God created an ideal world, that is paradise. Now God wanted ideal men and women who would merit being settled in this paradise for all eternity. Therefore, the present world is a selection ground for paradise. This divine scheme gives man great hope and solace that all those sorrows that one experiences in the present world are for the temporary period of testing, and that once they qualify in the test, they will be fortunate candidates for eternal paradise. One unique aspect of the Quran is that it always lays stress on duties rather than on rights. One such verse says, God commands justice, kindness, and giving the due to near relatives, and he forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and transgression. He admonishes you so that you may take heed. Quran chapter 16, verse 90. A right-based ideology is negative and leads to social anarchy, for it is bound to create different rival classes, while a duty-based ideology leads to harmony, solidarity, peace, and compassion. Islam is a religion of tolerance and mercy, and it has been sent to all human beings with a message to mankind that they should live peacefully. Islam and the Holy Quran are meant to provide guidance to human beings as the creator of all mankind is one, and all human beings are descendants of Adam. O mankind, worship your Lord who created you and those before you. Happily you may guard yourselves from evil. Quran chapter 2, verse 11. This message is quite clear based on mercy and fraternity and directed to all human beings. The Quran is not only addressing Muslims, but it also talks to non-Islamic communities with some references to non-believers and to the people of book, Christian and Jews. Islam has common denominators with other religions, and this is quite clear in chapter 3, verse 64. Say, O people of the book, come to an agreement between us and you, that you shall worship none but God, and that we shall ascribe no partners to him, and that none of us shall take others for Lord beside God. This verse proves that people of different religions should initiate dialogue and address the mutual issues to solve them peacefully by words and dialogue. The Quran places great emphasis on the dignity of human beings, regardless of their gender or race or even status. It says, we have bestowed dignity on the children of Adam, provided them with transport on land and sea, given them for sustenance things good and pure, and conferred on them special favors above a great part of our creation. Chapter 17, verse 70. It means that all human beings are created equal by the one creator, and no one is superior to another on the basis of his or her birth or family or tribe. It is only the divine that alone is the judge to decide who lived up to his or her dignified status, accepting the dignity of the other. The Quran does not want people to deprive others of their rights because of their color, gender, or even religion. The Quran does not give preference to one over the other. The Quran does not say that only Muslims who have faith in God deserve dignity or rights that are associated with dignity. It talks in a broader term and declares that no one has the right to deny their dignity, a human their dignity, that is God-given right. We come to know from different statesmen of the Quran that Quran has been sent for all nations of the world. We have sent you as a bearer of glad tidings and a warner for the whole of mankind. But most people have no knowledge. Quran chapter 34, verse 28. The message of the Quran is entirely global and universal. It concerns all human beings. It has been made clear in the Quran that a man does not die and end forever, but after his death, he will be brought to life again and made to stand before God for the final reckoning. This is also such a reality as concerns the whole of humanity. Similarly, it has been enjoined in the Quran that we should adopt the path of justice in our dealings with others. Quran chapter 4, verse 135. This is also such a teaching as relates to all human beings. It has been declared in the Quran that all human beings are the children of one and the same parents, Adam and Eve. So all human beings are brothers and sisters to each other. If there is any difference, it is not as on the basis of race, but on degrees of piety. This is also such a teaching as relates to all human beings. All the teachings of the Quran enjoy the position of universality. They provide guidance for all human beings from here to eternity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the presentation on the Quran. You started with Quran is to be read. Take lessons from creation, from history, the human history, and also you that emphasis on all humankind, or Anas, isn't it? Anas, isn't it? Yeah, and sustainer of all, Rabbil Alameen. Uh, those things are very clearly shows you presented that the Holy Quran has a universal approach, not for a group of people, but for all. And you continue to show it now how this is a guidance for humanity, glad tidings, that guidance for humanity, for entirely global community, the community to be responsible for what one does, take responsibility for one's action. Uh, a number of examples you gave to show that the belief that the Holy Quran is treasure, sort of, what do you say? Uh, it's a legacy for whole humanity, not for one group of people, for all. Thank you for the presentation. So we shall open the floor for questions. Uh, I would like to ask one question about, I just begin with that. No, we talk, you mentioned that it's for universal fellowship, and especially you, it's not a very big question, important question, just a small question, so that in case if somebody asks, I'll be able to respond, because I couldn't answer this question when earlier I was asked of. Universal fellowship is being emphasized in the Holy Quran, and you have shown also the Hajj, the fifth pillar of Islam, where Muslim men and women as equal members of humanity making pilgrimage. About a universal gathering. Uh, see, yes, I understand the spirit of it, but my question is, however, if you see, clearly people who do not belong to the fold of Islam, Christians or any other person who belong to other religions, they are not even allowed to enter into Mecca. Of course, I understand during the time of pilgrimage, there'll be huge, great multitude of Muslim pilgrims, that I understand. But other times of the year, some of the times are lean time, not many much people to grow. So it's not open for people of other faith. Why I'm asking is, see, I have experience of going to the play Karbala, very important spiritual place for Shia Muslims, and of course all Muslims, they hold it in a great regard and love. Being a Christian in the shrine of Imam Hussein was a great experience for me. Uh, so that type of experience is really denied for a non-Christian to go to the place of, the house of Abraham, pious practice that you visit, and also to have an experience of being in the presence of the place of Kaaba, where every Muslim turn his or her face to pray. So what would be your response, ma'am?
Father, I think Professor Farida Khanam, she replies this answer, and I will inshallah she will answer this question.
I think because the Kaaba was built for the worship of one God, but people had placed 360 idols in the Kaaba. So I think this is the reason why people were not allowed to stay there. They used to come and go. There were Christians, there were Jews, and so I think the restrictions were strictly followed later on. It is not in Islam. There is no such that great restriction. Otherwise, there was in Medina, there were Jews, and there was all kinds of contacts with the Jews were there. So perhaps this is the only reason that there should be at least one place where there is no idol.
I agree with what Appa has said. During the Prophet's time, everyone was allowed from all communities, everyone was allowed to worship near Kaaba, come and worship there, worship their idols and all. So this is the advancement of the present age that the government of that country is not allowing because of that same reason. If that place is open to all communities, maybe that kind of situation might reoccur, and then again some problems might. So that could be one of the reason of imposing the restrictions of not letting people from other communities to enter the place. Thank you,
I
Farah.
have I have a few points to add. In my session, there is a particular topic because I'm talking about Islam and the modern world. I think there'll be more clarity with a few points which I'm going to share about Islamic principles on how things have to be revived and reapplied according to the changing circumstances. So we could, if we all could wait till the 3 to 4 session, let me see if there'll be more clarity on this aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for all of you. Thanks. Um, brothers, feel free to ask any question you want to ask. Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, I have a question. That you mentioned that human dignity, it's a God-given right. It's very much mentioned in the Quran, and also we have to adopt the path of justice in dealing with others, and the concern for all human beings is very importantly noticed. And my viewpoint is, as other religions also, there is a lot of evolvement and changes according to the signs of time. And how do you find in the case of women in the Islamic tradition, how they are treated? No, I think a lot of things come like the triple talaq and discriminating of women and stoning publicly. We find in other religion also, but how it is evolved in this present modern era as the days goes by, is it changed or the same? No, we are following as it is in the Quran. No, in the older tradition type, no, we have to follow the similar rule. Having other things and all. So just I wanted some clarification if you can explain to me. Thank you.
According to me, I think these are the innovations. Islam principles and ideology is the same what is mentioned in the Quran and the practices of the Hadith. And we see all these practices during the Prophet's time, during his life. But these triple talaq and all these the biases against women or any other community or any other gender, it's because of the practices of the Muslims of today, where they have misinterpreted the message of the Quran or the Hadith. So, so I think we need to go again, rediscover Islam, what has been prescribed in the Quran regarding the dignity, regarding how we treat other people of the same community or the other community. We need to uphold the dignity of each and every person, and we need to practice in our daily lives, and then only we can be eligible for the paradise. And I would like Farida Appa also to add on to this question.
Actually, in Islam, in the Quran, it is very, very clear that talaq is to occur that has to take place in 3 months' time. It is very clear. At-talaq marratan. So, but what happened once during the time of Hazrat Umar, people were abusing this freedom, and they were they were pronouncing talaq without any reason or rhyme. So Hazrat Umar said that if they pronounce talaq thrice, then we will accept it as by way of punishment. So it was Hazrat Umar's discretion. It was not the injunction of the Quran. So, but what happened that the jurists accepted this discretion because Hazrat Umar was the caliph, the ruler, but they accepted this for on a permanent basis. So it was only for that time because people were abusing this freedom to the freedom to divorce. So, but later on, we are going by the interpretation of the ulama, which is not right. We have to go by the injunction of the Quran. The Quran has clearly laid down that the, it is in the third month that the divorce is final. So now I think now my brother said that now things are changing, and it is I think people the more educated people are, because mostly it happens among those who are less educated, who are illiterate. Those who are educated, they don't follow this, they don't believe in this triple talaq. So things are changing. The more education will people, the Muslims, especially women, the more they will be educated, the more they will understand that this is not Islam.
May I add one sentence? Maulana Saab very rightly has guided us on how to begin our understanding of Islam. He says, do not judge Islam in the light of Muslim behavior. See, if you want to know the real commandments, the real teachings, the real status which God has given to women, we need to understand Islam from its pristine sources, which is Quran, teachings of the Prophet, life of the Prophet, and the examples of the women at the time of the Prophet. Now, Muslim culture is a mixture. They have borrowed plenty of things from other cultures also. One very big example I could give you is dowry. So there like many things have been borrowed from everywhere, but unfortunately they are being, it looks like it's the teaching of Islam. So this is when we begin with this attitude, God willing, we can understand the true, progressive, wonderful laws and the rules and the beautiful status which God has given to women. I'll be touching a little bit upon this topic also during my talk. And we have Maulana's wonderfully written books about these topics. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, all of you. Any questions, friends? Go ahead.
A question.
Yeah.
Thank you for the very nice presentation. I like especially the purpose of the Quran, the questions that you asked, who am I, why am I here, what is the purpose? So in one sentence, as you told, what is the creation plan of the creator? So how beautifully the religion of peace is spread. Also the question of paradise for me was something nice. Now in the present world or in the past maybe, what is the reason for the paradise to be misinterpreted, for understanding wrong understanding of paradise? Because we see in today's modern world, paradise is understood in a different way in different religions, but also some of the Muslims who interpret it in a different manner that leads to violence other than peace. So what could be the reason for misinterpretation? Because it is nicely mentioned, the creation plan of the creator, that is to be in freedom, so and to lead it to an ideal world. So So how could we understand this?
Father, I'm not getting the clarity of the question, what exactly he's asking. So can I have the clarity of the question? Or maybe Farida Appa or Fatima Sara can answer this question.
Actually, I did not understand the misinterpretation regarding paradise.
Now, for example, I meant it telling Islam, now paradise you beautifully mentioned, but now in the present world, when a lot of violence is taking place and other killings are taking place, now this is misunderstood, telling that leads to paradise. So why is it understood like that, I must?
Yes, I
Are
understand.
you asking see there are certain people who use religion for violence, and if you kill and you will get paradise? Is that your question, Avinash?
Yes, Father. Sometimes also suicide bombing. So
Yeah.
that leads me to paradise. So he is killing himself. So all those things. Yeah, is it right? So is it misunderstood by some people? That is my question.
Okay, may I take up this, Farida Appa?
Yes.
Thank you, brother. Let me first tell you if I have understood your question correctly. You're talking about this concept of martyr, which you hear amongst Muslims. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Is that so? See, here there is a big not understanding correctly the time when those wars were which happened. Very few. There's a whole topic on that on the real concept of war during the tribal age at the time of the prophet, which were all defensive wars, and we need to understand this in the backdrop of the entire age and time of why all this happened and all that is ended now. It was an age of religious persecution, so some things happened as for that time. They are no more relevant as of today. So under those situations, some particular teachings were there, and in a definite situation, exactly as per God's teachings and the prophet's guidance, through from the revelation, those people became martyrs. So there have this kind of talk about paradise for a martyr. But now those concepts, the concept of who is a martyr, is he really a martyr? Does that fall under the same category, or all things have to be considered very seriously? So suicide bombing, what is the position of thing of suicide in Islam? And then killing innocent people, throwing bombs like this. So all these things we need to understand in the right perspective, needs a little time. So that is where this, what you have heard, this is where it stems from. So it's just they've taken the word martyr, and without taking all the other things, the very serious things and the other commandments, they have just been portrayed as a singling out and putting this across. I hope to a small extent, this might have answered your question. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you.
I would like to add to this. Just a few months back, I was watching. We can understand this more in today's context by some documentaries that is available on the site. And by watching this, actually, we do hear about these suicide bombing and people being using the word of jihad and this misinterpretation that if they go on killing the innocent people, then they are martyred and they go to paradise. I couldn't much comprehend this much, how this is happening. So there are, I watched 2, 3 documentaries, which I, at the moment, I'm not able to remember. where I saw that how these Quranic verses are being misinterpreted by these peoples who have the vested interest, political interest or some other interest, and how they're using people, innocent people, for as a weapon of suicide bombing and all. So like these are the practices and what interest of the people of today's age, and what Sarah Appa has said, I go by with it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That's quite a question now. Quite often, many of our Christian brothers and sisters ask. So, a very important question, because no, on one hand, no, our Muslim brothers affirm in the Holy Quran, it's very clear, killing a one person is like no killing humanity. So at the same time, some Muslim, very few Muslims, who could even think of uh, of their jihad. So that's why sometimes the question is comes again and again, which as we could help our each one of us, we help each other to understand it deeper. So that's a very important question. Thanks for asking the question, and also thank you for responding in the spirit of Islam, in the light of the Quran and the light of hadith of the Prophet. Thank you. Kindly go ahead. Any more questions? Feel free to ask whatever you think. Would like to. Please feel free to ask. Yeah.
Further, I have a question.
Yes.
With regard to dialogue between religions. When it comes to Islam and Christianity, of course, it's a Semitic religion, and dialogue is rather easy. When it comes to dialogue between, let's say, Islam and Hinduism, so Islam is a monotheistic religion, even Christianity, and if Islam has to have a dialogue with, let's say, Hindus, so that's a polytheistic religion. So, is there any room for dialogue between Islam and other polytheistic religion?
I request Professor Farida Khanam to take up this question.
There is in the Quran, there is a verse which says that we must enter into dialogue on common ground. Suppose they believe in they also believe in Ishwar, one God. So if they worship idols, they also believe in one God. There are many sects, many groups of people, and there are many beliefs. Suppose they believe in the afterlife, then we can enter into dialogue on this basis. Suppose they believe in spiritual values, then we have to find out what are common beliefs between them and we. So we have to, on human values and moral values, we can enter into conversation and we can interact on whatever they believe commonly. There are many, at many levels we can enter into conversation. We don't have to begin with controversial topic, whatever the religion, monotheistic religion or polytheistic religion. We have to we should not raise controversy in the beginning. Maybe if they ask some question, then we can reply. Otherwise, we should not initiate on controversial topic.
May I add to this? This is my actual experience. See, I'm invited to interfaith dialogue meets where speakers from different religions participate, and they give out a topic. Like, for example, one of the such a gathering, the topic was the concept of God. In our own religions, we had to speak. So this was like a platform where there were Buddhists, there were Jains, somebody from the other, Christianity, and so on. All religions were there. So it was not like a dialogue between us, but each one of them very beautifully presented the concept of God, of their religion. And at the end of the day, we leave our discerning listeners and we ourselves to our own conclusions, our own understanding, our own way of going about thinking about the different versions which we hear. So this is actually happening. So this is what I wanted to share with you, like the World Federation of Interreligious Councils. So in this, they give out topics like this where everyone shares their views. So this way, each one of us know about what is the concept of God in each religion. Thank you.
Yes, this is Maulana Saab's point of view also, because he wanted that we should learn, we should understand, we should share with one another, and in this way, in this way we intellectually develop ourselves. So dialogue is for sharing, for understanding, and not for conversion. So I think we are clear about it. There are so many points common between one another, and we can always discuss the common points.
Thank you, ma'am. So we are already 11:42. In case if you have any last question, if you have a question, or we could stop here, and then we'll now return at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock also, ma'am, Farida ma'am, you will also will come, no?
Okay.
Yeah, and Sabina ma'am, you also will come.
Yes, Father, I'll be there.
And 3 o'clock, Fatima, ma'am Fatima Sarah will make a presentation and respond to questions. So we come back at 3 o'clock. So morning session. Thank you very much for ma'am, for both of you, Farida ma'am. At the end, I will thank all of you, but chota shukran.
Father Victor, I'm interrupting you. 3 o'clock is a big challenge for your sister Fatima Sarah post lunch. Everybody's up very early, and if I put them all to sleep, that will be a great problem.
No. See, Jesuits have a tradition.
Yeah.
Soon after lunch, all catch up for 15 minutes, 20 minutes nap. So we are fresh.
Refresh.
Yes.
Okay. So, but how about a speaker? A speaker, like I have to speak, so maybe I won't be able to catch that. But I'll be very awake and aware because I have to speak. But listeners, I'll try to.
Usually soon after lunch, we rush back to the room to sleep a little bit. So by 2:15, 2:30, we are very fresh.
That's nice to hear, and I hope my talk is such that we can have an interactive session where we could all be like discussing things together. Thank you, Father. I'm looking forward to the 3 o'clock session.
So thank you, brothers. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sisters.
Thank you all.
So we shall meet, inshallah, at 3 o'clock. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Inshallah. Thank you so